back. I am now joined by Mr. Retros3xual, whose head's a little low right there. I don't know why.
Just sort of hunkered down over here.
Yeah, face. There we go. We'll raise you up, make you look a little bit taller.
I appreciate it. Just as long as I'm taller than Bud, I'm fine.
Well, if I ever get Bud on, I'll definitely have to put him down here like that. Alright, so let's keep you up here. Right. So how's it going? How's your Saturday?
It's going pretty good. It's been pretty productive. I just did a lot of yard work today because, with all the storming and everything that's going on, that's usually my Saturday is to pop into everybody's stream and be like, all right, leave an alert, going to do yard work.
Alert yard work? Or yard work? Jesus Christ. Yeah. You brought a button and I'm going backwards like him. Jesus Christ.
The yard work lurk is for real though, man. Like the amount of storming that it's been doing just in general and on the days that I've had a chance to go do something has greatly hindered like the progress I'm trying to like tame my yard. Because when I got this, it was covered in English ivy and there's still a good portion of it that's got that. So usually if I'm going out there to do yard work, that's what I'm doing is like weed whacking or using the chainsaw to chop up big vine, like Tarzan vines off of the trees in my yard and try to pull, obviously I can't pull them off the tree because they're stuck, but then, just try to clear out all the brush and everything. It's exhausting.
I can see your next cosplay right now. Tarzan of the jungle come swinging in from that vine.
Now, maybe if I get a little bit more in shape, we're, goals for 8. But the next cosplay is going to be Sid from Final Fantasy VII, and that one's almost done. I've just got to get a replacement part for my print bed, and then I can get back to working on it.
Yeah, you been 3D printing your own stuff quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
How is that? Like, I've always wondered about the whole 3D printing and like how that worked.
Yeah, so there's different things, different materials to print with, and like different setups of how you want to get into it. So the way I got into it was Creality is a Chinese company, and they make basically some pretty decent starter printers. And I started with one of the smaller ones. And I guess the idea is that if you're going to do it heavily, go ahead and put the money up for the upgrades as well, or just pony up for a higher quality printer to begin with. Because with those, you got to replace parts because the stock stuff, it feels like it's been built by Mattel. It's just like a kid's toy. But once you upgrade it, it's really cool. I only have to deal with like the one printer. I got a buddy that does resin printing, and he has to deal with curing and cleaning once it's done printing. The resin is toxic, so you have to have it ventilated, and you're talking about basically 2 to 3 times the setup of just having like a normal 3D printer when it gets to that. So yeah, there's lots of ways to get into it, but I don't recommend it for anybody that's not printing stuff at the level that I am, because I'm printing a ton of BattleTech terrain, just for me and my buddies, but I'm also printing all the cosplay stuff too. So I have a reason to like have that type of stuff, because it fits into a lot of my hobbies. But I don't recommend it for folks if that kind of stuff doesn't fit into a bunch of your hobbies and you're not going to be using that much, because it's just going to take up space and probably just not worth the money when you can just pay a fabrication shop in this day and age to just get what you want.
Pretty much the idiots are like, it's so expensive, I must have it.
Yeah. If anybody was going to get it and it doesn't fit into their hobbies, that'd probably be it, which I almost got suckered into it. But then I was like, well, wait a minute. I make stuff all the time. I remember when I got into the whole Raspberry Pi thing, because that's what got me into retro achievements was that. So I loved putting those things together for folks.
Now, what was your first 3D print, though?
Well, usually whenever you get it, there's like a sample print that they give you. So that, the little good luck Chinese cat. That was technically the first print. I'm trying to think of what because I've had some stuff that I've been able to do that. I mean, it's weird, right? Because we're talking about configuring a machine that was built by other people, but getting this thing to work and knowing how it works was quite an endeavor. And being able to fine tune it to the point where you could do the more complicated stuff, especially with just like regular PLA, right? Like regular PLA is probably the very most basic way of 3D printing, and then you can get into like printing with metal, printing with dual extruders, so you have like water soluble stuff for supports. You can print some intricate stuff and then just drop it in water, and all the support print just dissolves away, right? Like you can really go and get more complicated with it if you want to, but I think I'm good for now, though, just with being able to make my wargaming terrain and like some of the more like obviously I'm making Sid's spear right now, but some of the other stuff that was neat was I had a buddy that needed a basically a holder for a magnet that also acted as a part of it was Cloud's costume. So it was the magnet that sat, on his back basically in the strap that the sword would attach to. And you have a magnet in the sword or like a metal piece, and then, obviously make it all of with very cheap and light materials so that, it'll clamp to it. But that's the kind of stuff that you'll have to make that, either you'll have to get a fabrication shop to do or something. Whereas for me, I love making that crap all the time, so I'll just own one, and it's better off that way for me.
Now, with your cosplays, what has been your favorite cosplay doing? Like, what's favorite to create, I should say. I've seen you guys Barrett, and now Sid.
Yeah, the Sid's been fun because this is my first real endeavor sewing. So there's different stuff, right? Because like I had a friend, coworker, she was in a cosplay, or is, I assume she still is, but she helped me make my. It was from Warhammer 40k. It was a character from the books called Eisenhorn. Dan Abnett was the author. He did a series of books with that character, and they were really, really good, and I liked them. And she helped me put together that costume. I made it in my buddy's garage because that's where I was living at the time. Totally made everything wrong. The stuff was so heavy. I ended up pulling a muscle in my calf because Dragon Con's in Georgia, so right at the end of summer. So I get out, I'm instantly dehydrated because I'm covered in basically what is furniture pleather, to make this giant cloak. And like I can hear it's an audible pop. Maybe it's just to me, like internally, but I can hear the pop from my calf muscle as I try to walk up. And so basically have to limp my way multiple blocks down to the Hilton, which is where the Warhammer 40k photo shoot was going. Did the photo shoot, took off half the costume and was walking back. And the lady was like, "Oh, that's so nice and intricate. Can I get a picture?" I'm about to fucking die. I look like I have like a fucking prune at this point, man. And I'm just like, yeah, we can get a picture. And I put all that shit back on and pose and everything so she could get a picture, and then like downed what was left in the water bottle and tried to make it to my car.
By that point, tears rolling down your eyes. Like, oh man, he must be so happy. And no, I'm in fucking pain.
Well, that's the thing is I was just like, obviously you're happy that folks are taking your picture. But, because you go in there to, show your fandom, but also show your craft skills. Like, this is a cultivation of, like, a lot of your, interest and hobbies. So whenever folks want to get a picture, hey, you can get a picture. But at some point, I'm probably going to pass out. So I'll just, when I get to that point, I'm done. I won't be putting it back on.
Yeah, that's very understandable. Jeez.
It's dangerous, man. Like, you see those kids out there, they'll start getting into the furry stuff and start wearing those suits, and it's like, bro, it's fucking Georgia. Like, you got to watch out for when you see one start to sit down in a certain way. You're just like, all right, that somebody's dehydrated. You need to just, have some water ready, tap on and be like, hey, you need this? Just make sure folks are taken care of, because obviously, like, I didn't know any better. I almost fucking, had a heat stroke because I didn't know any better. And then, of course, now that that's happened, I'm walking around with water all the time, looking at folks that are, probably covered in way too much for what you should do in Georgia heat.
Right. I mean, I played football, and I know all about that. Putting on pads during summertime for training and
bro,
so,
like, yeah.
And cosplay is no joke, no different. People like make fun of them, like, oh, look at these nerds dressed up. You put this shit on during the heat. I like to see you do it. Shit.
That's usually the ones that get me are like the, little petite ladies that are, they're not doing the skimpy stuff, or at least they're not doing it that day, because they are just covered in head to toe in some sort of, regalia with a giant prop and everything. And it's got to be like 100 degrees in that thing. And it's like, oh, honey, I'm sorry. That's dedication, but
it is.
Yeah. That's why I'm digging the Barrett cosplay, because that one's sleeveless.
I mean, next, are you going to go as Princess Leia,
though? That depends, because I'm going to be going with Meow, so I'm going to have to see if she wants to be either Han, Luke, or Chewbacca. I'm fine with any, really.
So. Well, can we make Meow's Jabba the Hutt and have you chained to her?
I'm not making that recommendation, but you brought it up, so now it's out there.
It's for me. I just personal reasons. So
that's the kind of wild shit you would see go down there. So I mean, It's not saying it's a possibility with us, or me at least, but it's something you could see.
I just want to see it, but if someone like Gao got a hold of it, he probably, for his own personal reasons. So, I mean, what got you into cosplay?
It's something I've always liked. Like, I mean, I remember, like, Halloween was always my favorite holiday, just because it was one of those holidays where it was commercial. They admitted that it's commercial because you're doing the candy thing, but you're buying the candy to give out to kids, right? So to me, it was just always one of those, like, everybody says this, well, not everybody, but it's been the excuse for a moral panic many a time. But it's just a fun thing for kids to express their fandom, or escape reality every once in a while, because holy shit, it's not like things are getting any better around here. So, might as well dress up and have fun while you're at it.
So, Halloween, of course, you said was your favorite holiday. What's your take on Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving is my next favorite holiday, actually, because I'm not a big Christmas fan, just because I don't know, it's overly commercialized, and it is definitely not what it is portrayed to be. But Thanksgiving's real. It's just like, yeah, man, we're just going to eat food and just be thankful that we can eat a whole bunch of food together at this point. And there's no ambiguity about that one. Folks understand that that's what that day is for. So I'm just like, yep, I know, like those values. We're just going to eat a bunch of food and be thankful that we can do this together. So
give me the turkey leg and I'm happy.
Bruh.
Now, you touch on working on Raspberry Pis, building stuff for friends. That's how you got an RA. Okay, so with all that, I mean, obviously, you're really good with computer stuff. Now with RA, I know you're a former dev yourself.
Yeah, I've devved a set before. I did the Toki going ape spit on Sega Genesis.
And what actually got you wanting to do the deving aspect?
I was always interested in the because it was one of those things where, as a kid, I was interested in video games and how they worked, but I could never understand it. Right, I couldn't understand programming to a certain degree, so it was hard for me to understand what was actually going on. The magic in the background to make this happen, and it just sort of kept going from there, because I've always been into retro games, specifically the older games, because they had such hardware limitations that they had to work around. It was just one of those kind of, that goes into my video game interest, that does the problem solving interest. Like, it hits on a lot of notes for me. And so that's why I really liked them. And the hardware itself, like, I sometimes I'll go and like look up the scheme, the like actual specifications, and see what the chips were. And like, well, why did the Sega have a set sound system, whereas the Super Nintendo had the developers put their own sound font in there, yada, yada, yada. Like, those kind of things always interested me. So when I found out about retro achievements, I was like, oh, well, this is, of course, right? Like, you have an emulator, you get access to all the memory inside of an old game. Of course, you'd be able to do achievements for it. And who wouldn't want to be able to show what they were able to do, or what they're able to do now, right? Because for most of us, especially those of us that really enjoy retro and like we're here on Twitch and this is our primary form of entertainment and hanging out and all that, like most of us can pick up a game that we haven't played before and probably get it to completion, right? Like we can be like, okay, here's the bullshit, here's what the developers wanted you to get past. I'm not renting this thing, and even if I was, I could probably beat it in a weekend. But doing the retro achievement set, I'm going to learn this game, and I'm going to really dig into it, and just like, yeah, more about all the bosses in Mega Man 2 after that boss rush than you would have as a kid. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's stuff like that like after I did the Mega Man X set, I knew most of the stuff in there because the speedruns exploit it, so it's a pretty, well-known game. But I thought it was really fun when I finally, as far as the interests go, the fact that you can read all this memory, you can make achievements. Obviously I did my tracker work. We'll talk about it. But for making the set, it was that, well, I really get to poke around and look at it and see how this goes, how this works. I get to see all the little bits to control, the fact that you're in between a stage. Now you're loading the stage. Now you're in the stage. Now these are the enemies, right? Like just being able to see that all play out was just so interesting to me. So, I mean, I am saturated with hobbies, so it's not like I am hurting for things to do. But I mean, if I had the time, I totally would like to go back and do some sets or like even work on revisions, just because one, I mean, it is fun, right? Like deving that kind of stuff is fun as long as I don't feel like I have other things to attend to. But it's just that for right now, I can't do it, or else I would probably, like. There have been games now that I've been playing because I've been playing with Meows and trying to be active more on Twitch that I would love to go back in and like either help revise or update or, just I know that the dev for it is gone and this achievement's broken, so I would go in and fix it or something. But man, there's just not enough hours in the day at this point.
Well, I mean, even deving, you're still gonna sit there and listen to, well, let's say viewers or outside voices talking about, well, I don't like this about it. I don't like that about it. What would you say to them as a dev that's constantly complaining?
I mean, so it's all subjective, right?
Right.
Like everybody's experience for what you're gonna get and what should be in a set and what should be in a subset, like that's gonna be different per game, and that's gonna be subjective to everybody. Because I remember the Power Ranger set was the one that really kind of opened my eye when I did that just recently, right? I watched Lifted work on that last boss, and I was sitting there talking to Meows, and I'm like, I feel so much better because it's not like he's a bad player or anything. It's just that I owned that game as a kid, and what happens whenever you do an RA set for a game that you had as a kid, like you're able just to crushionate it. And the other one was the iBoss, because Lifted also had issues with it. And Chrono Gear, who is a phenomenal player, said it also gave him trouble. And I was just like, wait, y'all got to be kidding, right? Like I blew past all that, But I mean, it's going to be subjective to everybody because they're going to be like, I still owe everybody a Metal Gear badge, right? Like it's going to be different from folks to folks. So you're not going to please everybody. That's what I would say to them as a dev.
Funny story is, I actually had Chrono DM me about the Metal Gear set. I'm just like, wait, you badged Metal Gear Solid and you're asking me about this? Okay.
All right. So, gotta go to the experts.
And, I mean, me personally, I read it in the forum. Somebody had recently posted, like, what should be in a subset and whatnot. I read about speedrunning. Me personally, I don't think speedrunning should be in a set unless it has an end-game reward, which they have it listed as it shouldn't be in the main set. Unless, right. And that's always been a gripe of mine. Like, I'm not a speedrunner. I hate speedrunning. I don't want to learn games like that. Because, I mean, learning the aspect of when to jump at what pixel, and it's like, That's not fun. That's not an achievement. That's just mindless.
Right. You're but there's a different uh like I said, it's gonna be subjected to different folks, right? Like Rift can speedrun stuff, right? Like he speedruns what? Notice Earthworm Jim, right? I think I've seen him do Ninja Turtles.
Mega Man 2.
Mega Man 2. So he's a speedrunner, right? Like that's something that he really enjoys. But for folks like you and me, you know, we're gonna muscle through and do a set like, you know, Final Fantasy 12 or Tales of Fantasia, and then we're gonna move on, right? We're gonna take our badge, we're gonna put it up on the shelf, we're gonna put it up on the wall, and then we're gonna move on. Whereas the speedrunner mentality is just doing it over and over again until you want to keep practicing until you feel that perfect run, and that's what they want, is to practice it until they play that music, play that piano, play that controller just right to make the game sing like it wants to.
I just cannot imagine their controllers after that. Ugh.
No, I see what you mean though, right? Like I would Metroid is always the one that I would think of when you talk about speedrun achievements, right?
Right.
Like, because that one makes sense, but you also don't need everything to do it, and you can honestly get a bunch of those just because, like the 3-tank run. Well, shoot, that's a lot of tanks to avoid. You can just, it doesn't take long to just get those and beeline to all the bosses. So, but I mean, and that's specific to like that genre, right? If you're talking about speedrunning a Mega Man game, that's a little different.
I mean, even in Resident Evil, there's certain low speed runs in it to get certain items at the end, or just some games, but
right.
Now,
but like not Sonic CD.
Okay. Gotta love Sonic CD. I remember the first time I played that, it was just pure garbage. Then looking at that set,
I think Frank is a changed man after having to go through that. I think it did something to him.
It got to him.
Yeah, no, I think it really did get to him. But like, he's happy playing. Was he playing Little Nemo?
I caught a little bit of it. I was mainly watching Red's game because.
All right, yeah. Well, it's funny too because I didn't even know they were playing. I just knew it was Saturday, so I was just like, "Hey, how's it going, Coach?" Like, I haven't turned on the game yet, and I'm just like, I didn't even have to know there was a game going on to mess with Frank. It's great.
I mean, it's over at his house. The game is always on. I don't know what game.
I was like, yeah, no, there's no way that game's not like somewhere within his like peripheral view.
If you see him looking down like this, or constantly looking over, and you don't hear a kid yelling, he's watching. He's watching something.
Yeah, I know. You can tell when he looks over his shoulder like that. He is charging. It's like a Dragon Ball Z episode. He's charging up an emotional response where he's either about to be really happy or really upset.
I love sports. I mean, I can at least walk away for a little bit.
Don't get me wrong. Like the funny thing is, he gets upset with that, but that's just because I'm not gonna say why exactly because to be assuming, but he could easily just throw some stupid shit back at me. I mean, fuck, I paint little plastic army men and I have opinions on the factions of BattleTech. Like it's not like I have any room to talk. It's just that he didn't know how to throw that back at me.
Well, I mean, if you guys weren't friends and you guys stormed, then it'd be questionable.
Right, yeah. Well, that's the thing, is that I was waiting for that response. He just got upset. I'm like, come on, man. That's why I had to change it up on him. I had to be like, well, you're just a bad sportscaster. And even when I said that, he was like, well, can I enjoy sports? I was like, you can enjoy them. You're just calling the game very terribly.
You're no Harry Carey. Come on.
That's what I wanted to tell. I was just like, look, man, you're no Bob Uecker. Let's wrap it up.
I actually have a Bob Uecker card up there for my dad.
Really?
So yeah, so
that's like one of my favorite Futurama jokes is whenever he starts talking. He's like, not since the days of Bob Uecker have I seen anything like this. This is Bob Uecker.
Which few more days, new season for that comes out. Nice.
Oh, that's right. I didn't know about that.
On the 24th. Now, okay. let's talk the tracker.
Oh hell, here we go.
The cat's out of the bag.
I mean,
Retro completely trashed it. He broke it. He said, "Fuck this shit. I'm tired of people." Why?
I'm basically protesting until RA gets its shit together.
Okay. And that's all the time we have, folks.
There's your sound clip. That one's going live. It's going viral. But no, I think so. What's funny is I was talking to Meows about it the other day because I pulled up Launchbox, and Launchbox uses that same web API, right? So when I've already scanned for a bunch of achievements, so they already have like the little trophy badge beside them. But when you click on them, there are no details about the achievements or any of your progress towards them because it pulls from the same spot. So yeah, I think what really happened with the tracker is that RA got way more popular than it had planned for, but or at least in the avenues that it would have, because I really don't think that they planned on seeing this much traffic for kind of I'm not sure what you would call it, but it's more like the peripheral kind of experience where, it's like the tracker and the stuff for Twitch, and people have apps to track stuff on their phones, there's stuff like that now. Like, how would they have known that it would have been that just a few years ago, right?
Right.
Like, yeah, I mean, I remember it's on my intro. I still have the from my first badge when I defeated Launch Octopus without taking damage in Mega Man X. It's the yellow text. You remember before they had the right? Yeah, you remember before they had the badges or like the nice like drop down and everything. It was just yellow text. And so, I remember that, being a thing because obviously Retro Arch was so old, all that. And, obviously that's not really appealing to folks that may be looking for something a little bit more clean, but it has now entered that stage. And, you have Launchbox integrations. Like obviously, we have to find the right, file. We have to set everything up right. We have to make sure all of this stuff works. But to a certain degree, if you do have it all set up, it looks like a pretty professional setup. Like the way that, at least before the web API went down, like I love the way my Launchbox looked. I use my Launchbox far more than I use Steam. Like it's just the way it's gotten at this point. Usually, mainly because of, hanging out on Twitch and everything. Like that's I'd rather just pull up an emulator or something, especially now that Meows and I are together, just long distance. That RetroArch netplay has been pulling some weight. That in Discord. So yeah, I'd much rather love the way the Launchbox looks, love the way RetroArch looks. I think it all looks good for the stream. Put some like the tracker on top of that. You can have some really spectacular productions like. Throg puts together a really good, like he uses the tracker really well. Bud does a good job with it. And I've seen some other folks that I haven't really followed. And, I just pull up retro achievements just to see. Like it was crazy. At one time I could just type in retro achievements and then I could just see like so many people using the tracker on their, layouts and stuff. And so many people had so many unique and very just cool ways to use it. And it was just, it's what I had hoped for it. Like, it's why I had made it was so I could, click on search retro achievements for, the tag or whatever. And then just go see how people had, taken what I had made and then put all of their retro achievements information on the page to, just enhance their layout and have that full experience and just, make it a big production like some folks have.
I know when I first heard about the tracker, Guten Pranken was the one that first had it. I was just like, oh, what is that? I was like, oh, right. I found this. I did like a Google search or something. And like when he originally told me it was, wasn't even you. It was somebody else, he said.
Yeah, it was probably Adulteries.
I was just
Adultery
like,
77.
Okay, so I looked at it. It seems cool, but this isn't what I've been seeing. Then that's when Bud had gotten the tracker. I was like, okay, where did you get that? That looks a hell of a lot better. Like, yeah. Oh, Retros3xual that comes in?
Yep. Well, it's crazy too because I remember so when I first landed on Twitch, I found Traz and Max. Probably not the best ambassadors, but you know, they did a good job to keep me hooked in. So I first met them, but uh you know, Max has his he had a counter that he would manually input for doing retro achievements. And then through him I found other people that were also doing it. And it was crazy too. The only reason I really like wanted to start following it was because I had enabled it on the Raspberry Pi that I had, but I didn't focus on it. And then I was playing um one of the Zeldas for Game Boy, or one of the, you know, portable ones that was like Game Boy, Game Boy Color, I forget which. And I did a damageless boss. And after I got that achievement, I was just like, "Whoa, what damage? Do this boss damage?" Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't take any damage on that. That's pretty cool. And then I was just like, "Oh geez, I kind of want to keep doing these." So around that time is when I started watching Twitch, and I started watching some of the bigger streamers. But you know, it wasn't what I was looking for because you can't really. It's hard to get to know a streamer. Like, you can get to know a community, or at least sort of through the chat. But I think it's better to get to know the streamer because, you know, you get to. It's just easier with being able to at least see what they might look like, you know, if they're on cam, hear what they sound like, you know, like what the inflections of their voice are and everything. That's really hard to like get to know a streamer when you're in like a 100 plus viewer environment, right? But
Mhm.
it was really cool finding the folks that were on retro doing retro achievements because, you know, any 20 to 30, and of course, you know, now with folks like Lifted and Throg, they were sort of pushing, they're getting to starting to push partner numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like with them, at least, you know, we were there early enough. But yeah, like it's not too bad to like get to know folks like that. So that was really cool to like hop around. And I actually met that's how I met Adultery77. Was in Arcus's channel. So I was at, you know, first I was sort of in the RBP crowd for, you know, hanging out with all the retro achievers from the that worked on that charity for a
Mhm.
while. But you know, that was Frank and Chard and all those guys too. Bud was there, I think. So palled around with them for a while. And that's when Adultery made that first tracker. And I tried to get him to let me work on it. I think I pestered the hell out of him about it because I really wanted well, I really wanted animated alerts and, you know, stuff like that. But I think he had kind of hit a point where I did, where, you know, you kind of tired of folks hitting you up for stuff just because they, you know, they don't want to put in the effort or something like that. So you're just like, all right, I'm going to step away from this for a minute, and, you know, you don't know if you're going to step back into it, but at least for now, I know that with the API going down, I'm actually getting kind of a nice break from it. And it also feels good to like just know that people really appreciated it while it was available. And so whenever they develop a long-term fix, I'm looking forward to implementing that for everybody because, you know, I think it's done a lot more good than anything. So I'd like to keep it going and just see what I could do with it because you never know.
You're just gonna commit it. You miss Neve pestering you about it, right?
So the what's funny about that is that because it's not like I'm, you know, he didn't mean anything malicious by it or
I,
anything. It's just one of those, yeah, like he didn't know no better because it had to happen at the worst possible time. I think I was able to fix his alert problem, which was it would have affected anybody who lived in a uh, basically, in, you know, as far as C# is concerned, a culture that used commas to designate the decimal spot.
mm,
Right. So the reason that that's important is because that's how the alerts work. Is that um, the little window that's running the alerts is actually feeding the running time of the video that you're playing back into the main controller, and or at least the alert controller, and it's looking for the values, doing a comparison and saying, okay, this video has played, you know, this far forward. Is that far enough forward that we can do the animation in, right? Like to sync up the animation for the little badge coming in for the achievement with whatever video or thing they came up with. There are things in there to control that, and that's how it works. So it does that comparison. But if you don't explicitly tell it, hey, be aware of the machine that you're running on, and you're doing this comparison with, or at least that you're about to, parse in the time with, because that what's happening is it's reading it in and being like, this thing's been playing for 6.14 seconds. But when it reads it in, because he is German and his computer is in Germany, that thinks, oh, it's been 6,000 seconds, or running for 6,000 seconds, and so it thinks that the whole video is over. None of his timer stuff really matters, and it just shoves all the alerts out immediately, right? And that's why it does the thing that it does on his computer. So I finally figured that out, and I fixed it. This happened to be around the same time that he built his new computer, right? And I get it. I remember when every time I get building a new rig, I'm like, oh, I can't be playing these old retro games. I got to see what this thing can do. And then once you take it to the track a few times, you're gonna load up Super Nintendo again. But so he was off having fun taking his new Toy 4 drive, and never checked to see, or never I told him, hey, I fixed it, can you check? And he was just like, well, I don't want to mess anything up, if in case it doesn't fix it. I was like, well, it doesn't fucking work now. What kind of logic is that? So so one, that logic kind of was just like, all right, that's irritating. But
right.
By the time he gets to it is like 3 weeks after they have taken that portion of the web API offline, for until they fix it. And so it was just one of those things where, all right, so I give him a fix and I say, hey, can you check to see if this works? And he goes, no, I don't want to do that. I think, I'm worried it might mess something up. Well, what's it going to mess up? It's fun fucking work anyway. So I don't want to do that. Waits until the whole goddamn back end just gets shut down, and then goes to check it. He's like, hey, man, I updated, but now I can't get this to work. Is something wrong with it? He's been off in modern gaming land, and hasn't checked the RA Discord for fucking ever. So he has no clue that, the web API has been having this issue, right?
You broke your computer! You broke your computer!
Well, that's the thing. It's like, I have to have that understanding, like, it's just that it's just a sequence of events. I know that, how he's oblivious. How could he know any better? Right. So I'm sitting there and I'm just, yeah, exactly. The Carl face. I'm sitting there rubbing my forehead with the Carl face. And I just link in the little, announcement where it's like, hey, here's what's going on, with the API. And he understood and everything. It's just like, what a sequence of events that just irritated the piss out of me, because I'm like, man, I can't tell you how many times I have worked on just trying to figure out what was going on. And it wasn't until he sent me a screenshot of his, the main window that has all the controls on it. He sent me the one with all of his alerts, and I go, well, that's weird. There's a comma there and it's not a period. I bet you that's affecting how it's being, being read in to being parsed as a floating point value. And I'm just like, man, I'm telling you, frustration from a programming to QA to production support, man. What a month of just a sequence of events to lead to that.
I forget whose channel was actually in. It might have been Bud's, it might have been Frank's. Could have been Lifted's or Throg's. But Mr. Retro. I don't know if you know him. I'm sure you do.
I've seen him, yeah.
He comes in, he's like, hey, when's the tracker going to get fixed? Doesn't even say hi to the stream or anything. First thing right off the bat, I'm just like, you fucking moron.
And there's a few of them that are like that. And I've had to just outright block them because, hey, it's one of those things where it's like, I know for a fact we're all too old that I can't there's no way I can help change you or improve you in this, situation. So I'm just going to block you and do what's best for me, and not try to provide tech support to folks that act like that.
I always laugh. It's like, you might be friends with this person, but I'm not going to help you out in any way because you neglect to actually read something that's going on. Like, that's been stated several times. But no,
well,
you just want to come in right now. Just.
Believe me, man, I get it. Like, it's the thing that kills me about it is the folks that came to me, or the folks that linked the GitHub issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that gets me because, one, I remember when I actually put that error message in there because I was like, look, this thing goes down every weekend and I'm tired of fielding questions. I'll put an error message in there real quick. And it worked out great. Like, one of the best. I'm tired. I'm just going to code something and pray to God that it doesn't break everything. And it worked out well. So I had to, man. Like, I was just tired of fielding questions for it. It was like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, go look at the source. Oh, right. You don't know how this works. Oh, God. I don't want to have to. There's no way I can explain to you how this works. I just want to direct you to the Discord that I don't own so that you can go ask them.
Next time, for the warning message, just put in there, since you're not going to fucking read this, you're an asshole. Just leave it like that. I bet you then they'll read it.
You know what? I thought about putting some things in there because, but it would have to be specific to the user. Adultery77 actually did that with his tracker. A bunch of us had personalized messages because it would shut down if you didn't get an achievement within 2 hours. But to stop spamming the web API.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for depending on who you were, you could get a personalized message chastising you for not getting an achievement within 2 hours, and having the tracker have to auto turn off. So I thought about doing something like that, but the error message was definitely one of those. Like, I know that this will, really help, blah, blah, blah. And it did. But man, was it a big letdown whenever folks still had to reach out to me because they just did not understand like how any of this worked or what that error message meant, or they may have chose not to. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to, give people the benefit of the doubt, but oh man, I'll be glad when it's back up and I can put that fix in there, but I'm also enjoying my break right now.
I'm sure by the time they get it back up, people will ask you how to set it up again.
Oh, I can't wait to set my own stuff back up because I had to reinstall my machine, like reinstall my OS. I was like, they released the RA Web 3.0. Let me go see if the tracker still works. Oh, wait, I don't have the tracker installed. I need to go do that. Like, it's my app, but because, I don't get to stream that often or anything, I don't actually, check to see if it's installed or anything.
I still haven't installed. I just haven't checked it in a long time. Even after they updated it, I was like, it's still going to probably take a while, but...
Yeah, and but the thing is that so in the first release you could see that, and then they announced they put the notes in there too. It's just that obviously having a vested interest in how this is going to go, just trying to keep tabs on it via GitHub and all that. But they're changing around their database schema because I think what my suspicion is that all the user lookup stuff is super heavy because of the table structure. So they've just got to make it either they're going to normalize it or make it, more simplified as like a one-line record of everything. But they're just changing the way that they do that lookup so that I think for now it's still going to have to be where you it polls every 30 seconds or something like that to see if you've gotten an achievement. But I'm hoping one day they do get to using the webhooks because that will basically the experience will be you will just see like a little green check mark that says, okay, I've got the webhooks in place. And all that is that it goes to the RA web and says, hey, here's my IP address and a port number. I'm going to have this open whenever you get a or whenever you want to send me a notification, send it here. And so what would happen is from users, they would just see, start, little checkbox, it says it's in. And then within reason, you would get a more instantaneous response when you pop in achievements instead of having to wait 30 seconds and poll and, wait for stuff to update. That would actually be a lot less noticeable, if not completely gone, because the webhooks would make it to where you would get, slightly delayed, but pretty much in sync with what you're getting on RetroArch as far as seeing the achievement pop. And I think that would be really awesome for, the streamers to have on Twitch.
I mean, ever since the tracker went down, start seeing people do makeshift, like trackers on the road, like Lexi. She was the first one I seen start doing it. Then Lifted. I don't know if Bud's been doing it. We're not going to talk about Frank. We know, yeah.
But Bud's got his on the web page capture.
Okay.
And he can scroll through it, so he can just scroll and set the achievement to whichever one he's on.
I'm just disappointed that people now want to know what achievement you're working on more.
Well, so that's the thing, right? Is that it's one of those, they didn't know they wanted it until they got it. Now they don't want to live without it. It's and that's why I joke. It's like that product you got to have. Like, man, you can't do RA anymore on Twitch without folks asking, well, what achievement are you working on?
I mean, you got left.
So, I mean, it's funny. I remember when my buddies came over, we were just, going to smoke and play Smash Brothers like we always do. And I was working on the Killer Instinct set. And it was early on, but, just still trying to get some of the initial achievements done. And I lost the match with Saberwolf because I couldn't pull off the Ultra and I had to redo it. They're like, "Oh man, you had him. Why'd you let him kill you like that?" And I was like, "Hold on just a second." And then did the match again, did the Ultra combo, the achievement popped, and I was like, I was trying to do that, and they were like, "Oh, okay." And I was just like, "God damn it!" Like, it's just like this in real life. It's just like this on Twitch. Like, oh my god. So yeah, I think it's one of those things where now that if folks come into your channel, they know you're doing retro achievements and they see you doing something odd or something that you just obviously you're trying to do something a very particular way. It's really nice to not have to field those questions and everything, because it's not as a bad interaction with your viewers or anything. It's just that it's a way more pleasant interaction for them to come into your channel, know exactly what you're doing and what's going on, and not feel like they're lost or have to catch up or, have to spend time, being like, "Hey, what achievement are you working on?" Wait for the streamer to see your message and tell you, or chat will tell you or something. You can eliminate all of that by just that one app of saying, put my retro achievement stuff on the screen. And then that way I don't have to tell anybody. You don't have to tell anybody what rank you are. You don't have to tell anybody how many points you have, what you're working on, how many you've unlocked so far. It's all ready to go.
I mean, you still have to tell people no backseating, even though you have it plain as day. So.
Yep, but that's why you have mods.
See what Meow said right there. One of my biggest pet peeves is the lack of reading comprehension. Seems to be more nationwide, a little bit more scarier than what I thought it was.
Well, to me, I have a tinfoil hat theory about that one, but our systems are engineered to fail us, as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, I think a lot of folks are able to get by without having to read so much, and now we all have to suffer the consequences, in Twitch chat, let alone on roads when they can't read what stop means or something.
I feel like a bartender sometimes. Got to deal with people coming in with the sob stories, the drunks that always can't talk, read, somebody that always wants to play the damn Janet Jackson song that's fucking annoying.
Somebody that's harassing your other patrons that are, perfectly minding their own business.
Mm-hmm. And then you got the people in the back that might have passed out. That's exactly how I think about running a Twitch chat.
That's actually a really good way to think about it, because I always thought about it as uh, like you're inviting friends to come over, right? It's just that sometimes you can play video games with them, but usually it's just like, hey, I've got to work, but I want to hang out with this person while they are able to play video games or something. And I'm interested in their, because they're my friend, I'm interested in their retro achievements progression. Well, that's perfect. I can, I work from home, so I can sit here and, harass Bud and Frank and, try to be extremely unhelpful to them or, watch Lifted and you guys and all that. It's just it's a really good routine for enjoying retro games. And I think it's, again, like when we were talking about learning everything, I really like the idea of just learning basically everything whenever it comes to mastering a set.
All right, so, I'm a big Metal Gear person. You started on that Metal Gear game.
Oh, yeah.
When were we going to get it done?
So I may end up streaming before Meows moves down just because the closer we get to a date, the easier it will be to get back to streaming, right? Because that's the thing is that usually we're either hanging out with each other or trying to work on something that we need to, or, going over the checklist of things that need to be done before she moves down. And that on top of, I'm getting my costume ready because we're going to be Dragon Con together. I'm running my own house. Like, as soon as we get closer to a date and the convention's over with, I'll definitely be able to get back to streaming. So hopefully probably, if not late September, October. But yeah, I'm looking forward to doing Metal Gear and finishing it up. Because like even when I was doing just, practicing for, what was it? I think I was just trying to get up to building 3 actually. But I was able to get to, I think, the tank without using more than 2 rations and without dying.
Trust me, it gets a lot easier once you get through building 2 that way. A lot easier.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like I was able to get through building 1. The bridge up top on the roof is the only thing that really bothers me. But even then, like I've kind of, been like, I'm going to be able to run this far, which means that one, that particular one's going to be left to right here. So it's not that bad.
MSX.
Yeah, I'm doing the MSX one. I've only got 4 achievements left now. Oh yeah, I think it's 4 because I did the building 1. I knocked that out before I was like, okay, I can't come back to this. The next things that I've got to do are the building 2 stealth, no 2 rations, no guard death, and no death on Snake.
It does this because I badged it. But, okay, serious question. Here we go.
Okay.
Chipotle, hothead burrito. What's your favorite out of the 2?
So there's a Chipotle right outside my gym, and it's really easy to rationalize just going over there to grab a bowl. So for me, I would have to go with Chipotle and the usually either the balanced macro bowl or the high protein bowl. But me, I also tell you that anytime I have the high protein bowl, I'm not sure what they put in that spice in there, but it wrecks me. But I'm a big dumb man, so I keep eating it.
Hey,
I'm just like,
it tastes good. You say fuck the rest.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, this is delicious. And then I'll be like, baby, my stomach hurts. She's like, yeah, Chipotle. Did you eat that again? And I was like, you're so smart. I didn't think about that.
So whenever I go over Doghouse house, she always forgets because I always get her like right when she gets a cup of wine in her or something. Get her a little da-da-da. I'll be like, hey, can I get some eggs? She'll be like, all right, make some eggs. A little bit later, we sit on the couch. Oh, you son of a! Hey, you're the one that gave me the eggs. Oh, fuck!
No,
I know how it is.
It's probably a good thing we're doing the long distance thing then, because she can get like a good list of stuff that I'm just, whatever turns me into the Acme Chemicals factory, she can avoid by the time she's actually living here.
That's when you go, Hey, you want to take a hit of this? Oh, by the way, I had some Chipotle before I got home.
She's gonna make me smoke outside.
Mm-hmm.
In my fucking house, she's gonna make me smoke outside because of Chipotle.
She could have you make that long vine into your own little swing to sit out there.
Yeah. Like, don't chop that tree down. That's gonna be the one your treehouse goes in.
Mm-hmm. You don't get a doghouse, you get a treehouse at least. All right. Any questions from the audience?
This is the roll the dice here. That is what folks could ask. God.
I'm actually waiting for a good one.
I was gonna say I'm gonna take a smoke just so I'm ready in case somebody asks something. Which would be fun if
Ooh, Von cosplay win.
I was gonna say it'd be funny if Gall came in here because I know he'd have some weird questions. But Vaughn, I think I could pull off a cool Balthier.
I could see about there. You can ask any amount of questions you want. There ain't no limit.
Yeah, that's. Go ahead. I'll let you know. But yeah, as far as the cosplays go, I mean, fuck, I love 12s. Like the entire like Evilise aesthetic, especially because it had like the different races and everything. That's one thing I didn't like about Tactics was they didn't have like the Bongo and the all the other races that exist in that period of Evilise. But it's because it took place up there, like got wiped out. But I love the aesthetics and everything, so I really enjoy like especially Balthier because he's the main character, despite what people think. Like his swagger, his style. He's actually most of them are actually really well made characters and design. And yeah, I would love to do Balthier.
Best dressed version of
Tifa.
Mm-hmm.
Best dressed version. I don't know. That remake Wall Market, that's something else. They know what they're doing with that character design. But I really like what they did with her overall in the remake. Because her regular clothes, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't make her look like slutty or anything. She looks like she's, she's basically a weightlifting ballerina, is what it comes off as. Because, she's got the little dress and everything, but she's also got her boots and, her gloves and everything. So I thought it was a really good design. I like that one.
Mughals were extinct for sure in Tactics.
Yep, there was a cataclysmic event that pretty much wiped out all but a bunch of the monster races, the humans, and chocobos. Oh, but if you play Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, you can play with all those races, and that's why I really like that game. That's one I should probably badge.
I mean, played Tactics in a long time. I mean, I own the game.
Man, Tactics Advance is really cool. It's kind of off just because the story takes place in the real world, and the kids, basically get sucked into a storybook about Final Fantasy. But it's a, tactics game, except you get all the different, they're not monster races, but they're the other, what I would consider like playable races. Like if you're looking at Final Fantasy Tactics /12, the Evilise setting, like D&D, that's like, the orcs, being the bongo or whatever the pig race is. Like all of those are actually playable, for your different classes and stuff. And it's really neat how they do that. I recommend that game.
I just actually, since I upped my RAM, finally, I was actually able to play some Final Fantasy VII Remake without it glitching the fuck out. So.
Yeah. I like how it looks. It's just that I'm going to wait for them to do the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It looks like it's really well put together. It's just that, man, I don't want to... Like, I couldn't imagine when FF7 first came out, if it's like, okay, we're releasing disc 2 and, next year. Like, what?
Well, hell, they would have to do that for every damn PlayStation game then, because it seemed like by 97 and on till PS2 at least, every game was at least 3 discs, maybe 4, or at least most RPGs.
Yeah, because a lot of content, basically a lot of assets and dialogue and everything that have to be stuffed into it. It's really neat to think about too, because I'm a big comic book nerd, and I remember reading a book about Jack Kirby, who's my favorite artist, and they were he was basically explaining why comics, what made them better than movies, and he was like, well, I like movies, don't get me wrong, but when you're talking about being able to experiment and create fantastic stories, but in a quick pace and for not costing a lot of money, he held up a panel that he had drew of a very epic battle, and he was like, it would cost millions of dollars to reproduce this in a live motion picture, but I can do it. Yeah, I knocked this out in a Saturday. And so that's where comic books, excel, are, experimentation and things like that. And I thought that was really cool with the way that sort of translated to video games, right? Because if you think about a company like Sunsoft, that they made the game before they got the license, they had all that ready to go before they even before they were ready to create the assets, right? Because it's like with that first Batman game. A bunch of them bosses ain't, they don't act like they're supposed to. Joker doesn't summon lightning, stuff like that, right? So that, to me, that was kind of like that era. To me, it is more like comic books where you could experiment, because you could take an engine and strap some new assets to it for pretty cheap and have something that's pretty market ready. You'd be able to sell it. But then you take something like Final Fantasy VII Remake, and you think about all of the assets and all of the quests and everything that had to be put into it for them to, feel like that they had made a worthy product to represent the story that they wanted to tell, right? So that's why like indie games are great for experimentation, is because they're like the comic books of video games. Whereas whenever you get to something like Final Fantasy VII Remake, they have to do something like that episodic, because they are basically making this like a Netflix movie series, right? Like, we want to binge this, but they can't even push these movies out fast enough. So they had, it's going to be like the Avengers instead of, something else. You have to wait a few years before you get the next episode for it.
They first said that it was all going to be released on PS4, lied about it, came out with the DLC for the PC, PS5, exclusive. Then now the second one, which is really only going to be on PS5 for another year or two before it comes on PC. But now it's going to be 2 discs on PS5. Think of how big that's going to be on PC.
Yep. And yeah, that's so many different assets and everything. It's basically the that same. It's a loop, right? Like we go through these cycles with stuff, like getting to like with the Xbox and PS2. Like you can feel like it's like with movies now. Movies have stagnated so much. Have you seen how many different series they're going to reboot and things like that? But the game industry is starting to do that too. Like, we've had some sequels and stuff that have come out that have been pretty good, but now you have like the Warcraft 3 remaster, which I heard was not that great.
The Warcraft 3 Reforged, I actually just got that.
Okay. Let me know what you think, because I'm basically going off of like internet stuff.
It was cheap, so I figured,
if I have a cheap way to install Warcraft 3, I'm okay with that. But if I'm spending money on the whole remaster, Reforged, whatever, I'm gonna have some expectations. But I mean, and that's the idea, right? Like, I saw they're fucking rebooting Harry Potter, dude. Like That's going to be no different than them like re-releasing a remastered Halo, like the original Combat Evolved.
Well, technically they did that, didn't they?
Oh, I don't know if they've done like a remastered, like
I think that
cheap or something.
They remastered it in 2015.
Jesus. Oh no, not like I'm talking about like I know you're talking about like the collection that you like. I'm talking about like a FF7 remake type thing.
No, you're talking about a remake, like a whole remake, not remake. Okay, because I was about to say, yeah, they actually remastered it as a standalone. It was for Xbox One before they even did the whole master collection.
Then maybe I don't know about that then.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, then never mind. I'm just predicting. Yeah. I thought it would have been later, but yeah, apparently they're already running out of digest too. And it's not like stuff like the Metroid Prime remaster is bad or anything, right? Like it's good that people get to experience it without having to go pay God knows how much on eBay or something.
It's $40 right now for that, but if you buy it like 3 years later, it'll probably be like $120, $500.
I think about how wild it is because a lot of that, it maybe the code doesn't directly translate, but if it's written in like C++ and assembly, it's probably going to translate. So like all of your actual basic physics of whatever, that's all, like a fucking hitbox and a actor and all that on a Super Nintendo is the same thing that, conceptually is the same thing that it is in Unreal Engine 5. So, a lot of that stuff can translate. So when you talk about taking something like Metroid Prime and remastering it, a lot of the heavy lifting is already done, right? You're talking about taking mechanics that already exist and strapping new assets to them. And, to me, it's like, I like it because I want folks to be able to experience stuff in a manner where it's like, I look at Ocarina of Time and I'm like, that didn't age well. To me, I don't think Ocarina of Time really aged well. But, for other stuff, I'm going to have like certain expectations of like how that's supposed to look and everything. And
how do you do, neighbor?
I don't think that most of the remaster stuff is really, I don't know. Like I said, I like it that folks get to see it updated. To me, I'm not that big of a fan just because like I can play the original Final Fantasy VII just fine. It doesn't bother me. You know what I mean? Like I can just go do that. But I'm not a fan of the remake remaster stuff just because I'm like, y'all running out of ideas. Just like Hollywood, we need stuff too. Like we need new stuff to, look at. I don't want to be sold the same Diablo game again. Blizzard's not going to trick me.
Meows wants to know, are there any good Superman games?
Well, Fox says that the GameCube Superman game is good, and that's crazy because I think I've seen that it exists, but I didn't know what it looked like on the inside. Is that the Superman Returns one? I'm trying to remember because like there's they have the animated series for Superman, and that was what the N64 was based on. I think the Shadow Apocalypse. Oh, that's definitely the animated one.
I mean,
I'll check that out then.
All I could remember is I think it was Death of Superman for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Just
had to fight Doomsday.
I tried. I just didn't care for it.
Like I said, I don't think that those are bad ideas. I'm saying they're not for me. I'm saying that they show that they've kind of run out of ideas.
The pixel remasters.
How many times? How many different versions of Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, all Super Nintendo, Nintendo ones? How many? Like mobile. I get it. Like, right? Like, I mean, if you had that and you're able to make money off of it, it's not, you should be able to do that. And that's a smart move. But I'm saying I ain't going to purchase it.
It's the same idea. Like, how many times are they going to repress the same game or a different console just to sell it? Because, before that, you can always get it, like, off a Nintendo console as a collection. Before they did the Pixel remaster.
Mm-hmm.
You had the Wii U store or the Wii store, e-store now.
Man, don't Final Fantasy Chronicles and what's the other one? Anthology on PlayStation.
Yeah,
they've been doing that since the 90s. They've been doing that since the next generation.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad they did it with the PlayStation, Because that was the first time that 5 was able to come to America. Which, I mean, 5 was fantastic. I don't know why it was never.
So technically that counts as a new game since it would be like unless you played it on a ROM or something. But
I mean, 4, 6 was already here. Chrono Trigger was already here.
And ran better.
1 and 2 was already here.
Oh yeah, they had the other one.
Origins.
Origins, that's right. So, yeah, and it's one of those things where it's a good thing where folks haven't had a chance to be exposed to that, and they're able to get access to it. Like, yeah, exactly right. Like the PSP version, exactly.
The Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, the GBA versions. Like, it's how about this? I own Tales of Phantasia on GBA. Okay. I don't own it on any other system, but I own the GBA cartridge. Right. It's a good thing that they put it on there, or else I wouldn't have been exposed to it at all. Mm-hmm. Right. So it's not that it's a bad thing, but I'm like when it comes to pixel remasters and stuff and all that. I'm not about to drop the money on that.
You're playing the true Final Fantasy 3 for the first time with the pixel remaster. I mean, 3 was fantastic.
That's the first job system, right?
Yeah. That was actually really a good one. I was surprised. I mean, I did it. Was it earlier this year?
You know what? And you know how I played that one? Nintendo DS in college.
Yep.
The little 3D one. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I didn't have exposure to it, so it's a good thing that they ported it over. But if it's a game I've already played, probably not going to get a remake or remaster.
I had 4 for the DS. I always wanted 3, but by the time I was able to get it, my DS had broken. I was just said, screw it. So.
So 3 also had a great soundtrack. Yeah, I love when you first got to the little mist area, the whole thing's covered in mist. Like, yeah, all the little town soundtracks, the little cave music and everything, it was also good.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, always in a conversation. 3 and 5 are always like they won't get mentioned until you bring it up. Then somebody will be like, "Well, it's not underrated because I love." Why didn't you bring it up in the conversation then?
And that's the thing is that I think the reason people like those games, obviously, have memorable characters and moments. 5 being way more to me, it is both mechanically and as far as like Final Fantasy theming and memorable moments and everything. I feel like it does it, almost better than any other game in the series, just because it's so like that job system is so fun and so versatile. It feels way more versatile than even the materia system or the junction system. So to me, that's why that one's so memorable. And I think, is that the first one with the battle on the big bridge? Isn't the first one where you have to fight Gilgamesh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was, also like it, it has Gilgamesh has battle on the big bridge. It has the alternate world and everything. It's like the, it's also well put together too. It's got like the, it's broken up into like 3 chapters. Basically, it's got Act 1, 2, and 3. So yeah, like to me, it's just one of those games that's so well put together and everything. I think that's why folks remember it. Is just it hits all the high notes. It's just that it didn't come to America, so the people that know about it know, and the people who find out about it, just find out about it late. They didn't know until now, but then they play it and they're like, "Yep, this is it." Why didn't they do this more often?
I don't know how much you remember of 3, but I mean, there was different worlds in that one also.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, you got to go to the place that was covered in mist, and then you had to go and like do all this stuff to uncover it and everything.
I mean, like, and 2, like if they released 3 before Final Fantasy 4, like in America. They actually had 3 come here first, and then you go to 4. It would feel like 4, even though it had gone to the underworld and then the moon, it would feel like 4 is more of a step back compared to 3. What 3 was.
Yeah, I thought. Well, the way I think about it is, so when the original Final Fantasy came out, it was mainly meant to mimic Dungeons and Dragons, right? Like that was the big, that was their play, was try to make a role playing game on the Nintendo that was console friendly, but still like Dungeons and Dragons. And so that's how Final Fantasy came about. Gotta make sure I knew where I was actually going with this. But like, and that had the static classes, right? You picked your 4 party members, and that was it. But with 3, you had, and I think 2 actually didn't 2 have a different thing. Well, 2 just had the stats, right? 2 just had like stats based on increasing on what you did. I think that one's like if you get hit, your stamina goes up. If you do magic, your magic goes up. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
So they didn't really have like like if you used a spellcaster, well, they would become a spellcaster over time. Warrior would become a warrior over time. But then you get to 3, and you just have options way more than you did in the previous 2 iterations, right? Like you just had way more options for building classes, and also really neat ways of doing it too. Because like with the ninja, I think it's ninja, you can get to 9,999 health, right? Like that's how you, or at least just by leveling your stamina is how you get up there in 3. And then yeah, like you said, if 4 had come out after that, you would feel like it's a step back because it's like when I'm stuck with these static classes, it feels like I'm going back to playing the first 2 when I was able to have the same like storyline experience and all that, but I also had a very more versatile combat system. I mean, 4 is just guilty of railroading you is the thing, right? But with 5 being able to, instead of saying like in 4 you have to do this particular section with a Dark Knight, a Dragoon, XYZ, especially as you got more crystals, you could really diversify the way you tackle challenges in Final Fantasy V, and you have options. And as an older gamer, there's one thing I know is that players, especially me, like they love having options to being able to do stuff. Because it's one thing to play a stealth game like Thief and be stealthy all the time. But it's another to try to play something like Deus Ex where you can go on guns a-blazing, or you can go the stealth route, or, you can try the charismatic, talk your way through everything. Like you have options, and that gives you more replay value. That I think that's just why people like that kind of stuff more. And so, yeah, 5 gives you that. 3 gives you that as well. But 4 definitely does not give you that.
Another problem with 4, like even though I love the game, it was like first Final Fantasy I've ever played.
Oh yeah, same. It's like I loved it.
But it's like, like the only class change out there was going from a Dark Knight to a Paladin. But then you like once you start building characters up, you lose that character, and it's like, what the actual shit?
Right? Yeah. It doesn't feel like I don't know, like it's a weird experience, right? You question why you're even building these characters up in the first place, even though once you play 3rd, you know who the temporary characters are. It gets a little bit easier, but for first time playthrough, it is very jarring to be like, hey, here's this really cool character, see what they can do. Okay, they're gone now. It's like, no, I want access to that. I want access to it all. I want to end up mastering every single one of these things and then not picking any classes and just stuffing my abilities with whatever I want.
Like, why the fuck did you take away Tella? Damn it.
There's so much in that game where it's just like, I think to me 4 was made, one, because they were doing Super Nintendo, right? So that's a bit of a leap to what you can do with your story. Especially with like, pre-cut sequences and all that kind of jazz. So I'm wondering if like the choices for that were one to, kind of limit the game and not make it so overwhelming in the aspect of like story and how many hours it took to complete and all the side quests and everything.
Right.
Because most of 4 is pretty straightforward. Like you can easily be a first time player and still get the type of ore that you have to get to take to the dwarves and all that. Like you can stumble upon basically all the side quests and everything.
Well,
in your first go,
except for the drop summons or the pink
right. Well, but you could still like randomly get it though, right?
Randomly,
but, right. Like, but the thing is like you could, it wouldn't take you long to complete all that, right? You wouldn't be overwhelmed.
This is coming out of the North American version. Yeah, but true.
So there you go. And I think that has to do with that type of game was obviously meant to be bought instead of rented.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah.
Who's the guest voice? R. Okay, Nick. So, okay. I mean, the floor's still open for any random questions from anybody. So, I mean, you love 8, 12. What's your thoughts on 13?
Oh my goodness. So 13, usually I like doing sort of completionist stuff. 13 was the one game that when I finally got through it, I beat it, and then I looked at what the kind of end game play loop was going to be like to round out everybody's skills and everything. I checked out. I was like, man, this wasn't even like, I felt like I just went down one long hallway, right? Like, and it really was like the entire game is railroaded from point A to point B. There is not a choice between point A, B, or C. You know, I can go point A to B or point A to C. I just have the one path. That's like Star Fox gives you more options than that, and it's literally on rails. So yeah, that literally that's how I felt about it. Was the story was underwhelming. I mean, hell, look at Snow, or no, not Snow, Lightning. That's the main character, right?
Yeah, Lightning.
Look at Lightning and look at Princess Ash from Final Fantasy 12. Man, you can tell that that one's supposed to be a Final Fantasy game, at least not a main entry one. And two, a lot of character design got reused, you know, going into that game. Like Princess Ash and Lightning bear very striking similarities. And I swear a lot of other characters like what's the kid's name? Hope, yeah. He looks like Vaughn to me. He looks like literally like somebody just took Vaughn and Pinello and just smashed them together.
Pinello, I mean,
well, she's definitely Pinello, and like you know, yeah. So, to me, I was just like, all right, I definitely can see that this is, you know, one of those like we were talking about with Sunsoft in the Batman game, right?
Right.
Like Final Fantasy 13 probably would have done better if it had Joker casting lightning.
Never played 12. I should. The art's all kind of. I played it when it first came out. I bought it, played it for a little bit, and then I just couldn't get into it. 20 years, or not even 20 years, but I had just recently got about 3 years ago when I first got my PC. I started doing PS2 emulation. I was going to start doing that. So I wanted to do a little bit off stream. I just still couldn't get into it. I know there's people that love it, but for me, it just.
If I can make a recommendation, it would be to do the Zodiac Age version. Reason being is that so there's multiple versions of the game, right? There's the International Job System, International Zodiac Job System, which is what the like FF12 set is based off of.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. It's not the original like US version, because with the original US version, everybody has one big open board, and it's like a general board for licenses. But if you go and play International Zodiac Job System, you now have classes, and they have limitations, and they have certain builds that, you know, if they get certain, I guess it's a summon for lack of a better term, I forget what they call it in that, but the espers, if you get certain espers, you know, they'll give you access to other abilities on the board. And that really, it's a lot more, complicated of a decision to make whenever it's those limited board sets versus everybody has the same damn, you know, it's like I have nothing but a ton of black mages and heavy armor, right? They don't have any classes or anything. I've just unlocked everything with a license point. The International Zodiac Job System, you get a class that has limitations to it, and it makes it way more fun. I recommend the what is it, Zodiac Age version, because one, you have autosave, so anytime you go through an area or you're about to do a boss fight or something, there's always an autosave. It looks fantastic. It sounds great. Like the way they have gussied it up and everything is fantastic. But they also give you access to 2 classes per person. So you can have access to every class in the game by, opening it up to, strapping onto different people. And so you have 2 different license boards to work with. And if you unlock an Esper on one, it unlocks it on the other one for you. So you can have kind of well, I'll get it here, even though I don't have anything around it in my license board on here. And then I'll be able to get something that's really nice from this one class, even though I never really, went down this path for this particular class. So it's really neat to be able to do that. And I recommend it to everybody because it's a great storyline. It's very well put together. It doesn't, to me, one thing I don't like about like anime-based games is when stuff goes off the fucking deep end and still tries to keep itself serious. I'm like, nah, if you're gonna jump the shark like that, just go ahead and admit that we're Looney Tunes at this point. So, really recommend Zodiac Age. Gives you 2 classes, so you get some similar to what you get with like Final Fantasy V, where you have like these 2 classes that you get, and you get to mix and match abilities from them, and you get some really neat stuff out of that.
Nick wants to know how long is Final Fantasy 12 for an average playthrough.
I don't know, because if you want to do, I'm trying to think if there are any truly time-consuming quests to do, because there really aren't. You can fast travel pretty much everywhere. There's not like an airship in a world map. There's just different teleportation stones around. So as long as you have the little item, which you can purchase from pretty much any vendor after a certain event in the game, you can just pop around to wherever you need to. So you could probably, if you skip, so it has skippable cutscenes. So if you're doing the achievement set and you just don't want to have to look at that again, then, you don't have to. It was one of the, God, what a blessing that was. So it just depends on what you want to do.
Okay, so I looked up on howlongtobeat.com.
Okay.
This is PS2 version, Final Fantasy 12. Main objective, 61 hours.
Okay.
But to 100%, about 160.
I feel like that's with watching cutscenes, though.
Probably.
Yeah, because it doesn't feel like... and it has a fast forward as well, so if you're in areas where you're wanting to farm stuff, or you just don't want to have to walk very slow, you could turn on the fast forward feature, and you run really fast, and combat happens really fast. And the fact that your combat is done through the gambit system, you can literally just point your controller in the direction of enemies, and your characters will just slaughter them if they're, high enough level and all that.
Any other questions from the crowd, the audience? I know it's going to take a bit. I don't have Twitch delay on whatsoever, and it's still always a delay.
I noticed that on certain folks' streams, I don't know why, we have a delay, because like I have super fast internet and everything, but for some reason I still have a fucking delay, and it makes me mad if like Throg, bans somebody before I do.
Right. Did we ask why Retros3xual? The name.
Why the name? I'm trying to think where that came from. I don't know where I came up with it, but I was just like, I wonder if this is taken or not. And for some reason it wasn't. So I was like, all right.
I wonder if I can get this off Twitch. Yep.
So for a while there, I couldn't edit my Go Live message because I had sexual in it with the 3. They didn't like that. I appreciate that, CDN, because I actually have a closet with carpet stapled to it to soundproof it. Well, it's actually the, like just little squares you can buy. But yeah, I've got a mic and everything in there for it, so I appreciate that. I should do some more recordings.
We're going to have you do some voiceover stuff.
And it's going to be really sad, too, because it's mainly going to be like Frank impressions. You're banned. Let me spin my wheel.
Can you do any tries?
I probably have to have a few drinks to do that. I can't like that's the thing. I don't want to go full Australian. You never go full Australian.
For everyone's voicemail welcome messages. I mean,
Everybody thinks that he's doing my voice, but no, that's my voice in that recording. He snuck into Discord. He's a sneaky 6'5" Australian and recorded my usual announcement into the RBP Discord. Because that's, we're just working an event, being real casual. That's just how I greeted everybody. And now it's taken off as a meme for some reason.
Trez is a sneak. I mean, you see how much shit he puts Pulse through?
Oh, it's great. And that's the thing. I learned to not do that. I forget what he got of me one time. But he says, yeah, be careful. I'm always watching. I've always got, I think he said he has Audacity or something always pulled up. He's ready to record.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I believe it.
I believe it. I mean, hell, this is why Captain Dark doesn't stream, because I'll be going around clipping his ass saying shit.
I caught y'all with that Ebony Wood clip.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough on Twitch, man. Folks take everything out of context.
You know what? Everybody's just gonna be muted. He has made JR and Frank a whole cottage industry. Wow.
He's gotten them a lot of views because I've seen folks pop into Frank's channel for sure since he streams a lot more often, and they'll be like, "Yeah, I saw your clips on Traz's channel."
Mm-hmm.
It's like, all right, who owes who royalties now? Because Traz is using your content, but him using your content's turning around and generating views for you. So, who owes who at this point?
At this point, everybody owes Twitch apparently.
I've really enjoyed the whole people going over to Kick and just having a fun time over there because, like, for me, it was really cool to see Traz interact with a crowd that, I mean, his view count says 150 or something, but I think it's usually the same amount of us that are active in there, like just activating the sounds and everything. But he was having a good time with being able to experiment along with Bud, and I think Throg's digging it too. So it's nice to see everybody doing it.
I've been seeing Throg over there quite a bit. I said I would go over there a little bit more, but ever since I started wanting to do this segment, I can't because there's no VOD, really. I cannot.
Yeah, and you got to put that on
YouTube.
On YouTube, right?
Man, I tried dual streaming with YouTube and Kick, but restream, I just don't like it.
Oh yeah, I've been thinking about whether I capture my stuff separately, but it's just for me. Like, I think my presence is going to be known through, making stuff like the tracker or. Some of the more interesting stuff, like I really do like doing that Final Fantasy VII new threat and all that. I just think with like my hobbies and everything, if I did make content, it would have to revolve around them too, just because of how much time I put into them. And therefore, if my attention spread out between all that, then I probably don't need to try making streaming a hobby as well and try to set goals for it. Because I think I should, I want to be able to set goals for all the stuff that I do. But that's why I said I don't do the RA deving anymore, and I'm enjoying my little break while the web API is down, just because I do not need to take on any more hobbies at this point. So I like seeing everybody doing it. I love making stuff to help enable it. I'm looking forward to streaming on Kick and all that. So I still enjoy it. Like, I'm not going to be a big name or anything, but I love seeing folks doing it and having a good time with it. So yeah, it's fun.
I mean, always coming up with new stuff, always able to hang out with people. It's always fun. Never about the money. Once you start making about the money and other stuff, then you start making it feel like a job, and that's when it's not fun.
Yeah, I mean that's why we're talking about old Ghost Eye or whatever his name is.
Now,
getting mad to get folks are taking his views.
Now, will you be streaming in cosplay?
I thought about doing that because with like the Sid one is easy just because it's I've already made the code and put the patches on, and all that. But with Barrett, I would want to have like the gun in view and everything. And I just, obviously, I'm not going to play with it.
Now,
But
if you do Barrett, you got to do Dance Revolution, get the pad and everything.
man, you better be talking about a charity stream for St. Jude's. Hey, be about the only way that's about to happen. But we'll see. I don't know. I don't drink much anymore. But maybe if you get a few in me, we could do it.
You and Sark having a dance off. You be Barrett and he could be Jesse.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. I guess then I could still do my like anime girl Sarkone son. Like call him that. That'd be great. He got mad at GreaseCon because he saw me and Meows playing Streets of Rage 2. Came over there, told me I was a cheating bitch. But I mean, she put out, so I mean, like, what the fuck was I supposed to do, man? Plus, I don't know. She's really good. She taught me how to play.
That kind of explains the bathroom pass out with pants around his ankles.
I think he was on a mission to prove himself that night. That was for sure.
Okay, so
And he did. He did prove it.
will you be going next GreaseCon at least?
Yeah, I want to. I mean, I gotta slap Frank somehow. And like, what? He's gonna come down here? Nah, that's not gonna happen.
He's going to drive all the way down there for you.
He'll have somebody else drive him all the way down there. But yeah, he'd do that to come slap me.
Get that ankle express going.
Yeah, exactly. I'd love to see that. I mean, he'd be over the asthma stuff, so that'd be good, right?
Well, I mean, I know I said 10 to 20 minutes, but we are coming up on 2 hours now.
My goodness.
I did not realize that.
Good segment.
Hell of a segment. Hey, I've been having fun. I mean,
I love shooting the shit like this. It's fun talking about like why we are interested in RA and the other weird shit that we do around here. But I don't know, Twitch is the best thing ever, especially for somebody that works from home, because like I love being able just to like I got my laptop set up, but you got Lifted, then you and Bud, and you know maybe Frank goes live, Rockstar Lexi. Like there's at no point am I just sitting at the house alone, like wondering what's going on. Like now it's like, nope, I know what Lift is doing, I know what Solid's doing, I know what Bud's doing. I got my peeps that I'm checking on. I got, want to see what they're doing. I want to let them know how I'm doing. Like, yeah, I like having that.
I can interact with my friends without getting the germs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love being able to harass Frank without having to be near him.
Less COVID that way. We should do a group discussion sometime. Shoot the shit. I mean, depends on who's in the circle. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
If we get Gal in here, none of us will get a word in edgewise.
I'll just revise the script to where he has all the speaking parts.
You would vote yes.
That'd be cool, though. I mean, because that's kind of what Bud was going for his RA podcast thing, right?
Actually,
I think it was RA thing.
I think it was Frank's podcast, that one.
Was it be Frank's?
But the RA one was, I think it was Frank's. Frank lifted, okay. But Bud's going to be part of it. I know Bud, when he did his podcast, this pretty much what it was just shooting the shit, but with 3 other hosts, 3 or 4, I think it was, there was Chard, Paul, and Dark.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Oh, but I remember that's where the Stallone clip comes from.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was hoping that Bud would revitalize podcast, but then I guess Frank wanted to do a podcast. RA asked Bud to be on, and Chard, he's off doing a podcast with Press B. So,
oh yeah,
it would have been time for that. Paul and Dark kind of got left in the dark.
Oh, it sucks.
No, Dark.
A lot of stuff happened though, like, or at least around that time.
Yeah, I mean, Dark, he's been busy with work and then other personal stuff. Paul, he's actually getting back into work and all that as a teacher and everything. He's been doing other stuff. Actually, his gaming PC went down, so that's why you haven't seen him around recently. Well, that and COVID got him.
I remember he had COVID. I remember he said it was starting to get better, but
Mm-hmm.
like you said, I did notice a absence of him because like you'll definitely see him harass Bud, but you just haven't seen it a lot lately. So that's good to know that at least he's getting back to work. But damn, I forgot about his COVID. Sucks about the PC.
I've been taking my shots about him here recently. No more Amaranth shout outs and all that.
Oh jeez. I do love stirring the pot about that just because I got my opinions on them. So on the hot tub girls, whatever you call them. But I just think it's funny whenever folks start hating on them, and I'm like I guarantee you that's like you being upset at a symptom at this point. They didn't do nothing to you. They're just trying to make their way in the world. Only reason they exist is because of a completely separate system that you should be outraged about, but you're not. So whenever it comes to like if folks hating on like Amaranth or whoever those streamers are, I'm just like y'all just haters. That's what it ends up being. Like somebody told you to be mad at them, so now you're mad at them.
Every time I hear something about that and people come in, all I can think about is that South Park episode. They took our jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
They took
That's
my
exactly
views.
what it is. Yep. It's fucking Amaranth's taking our fucking kick views.
Okay, she's been streaming for about 6 years, 7 years now. You've been streaming for 1 month. Yeah, she really took your views, buddy.
Man. I love it too because I don't think people realize like again like the whole reason you should not be upset at them is because of like the reason her fan base exists.
I mean, not just that.
Right.
I mean, if you're gonna be mad at somebody, be mad at Twitch for not stopping it out right away. No, Twitch allowed it. Twitch is gonna allow it because it's bringing them money.
Oh right. Yeah, for sure. Twitch is gonna do, and well, I don't think it's gonna do it its own self interest, but they're definitely gonna do whatever pats the pocket. And so, yeah, they were going to allow that thing to happen, right? There's no way whatsoever they were going to shut her down or anything. Like, there's so many instances where the money being the bottom line is why folks didn't have the same type of enforcement or rules the rest of us do.
I mean, hell, there was a streamer that got popular for 5 minutes because he was complaining about people not subbing for $5 for free content. You're not paying me $5. She got popular, got a shit ton of views that way. Subs afterwards. So, I mean,
it's crazy what people actually watch, which is why I don't get upset or I just don't get emotionally invested in this kind of stuff. Like my sense of humor and everything. If everybody had that, one, we'd be in a terrible place as a species. But two, a lot people like Traz and Lifted would get a lot more views. Because some shit goes down in their channels that just like cracks me up like no movie or anything else can. But that really goes back to the whole like who your audience is thing, right? One, a completely different crowd. Nobody's gonna want to watch me play video games if their main interest is going to be seeing the maximum amount of cleavage that is allowed by TOS in a place. Like they're not going to come to my channel to watch me play FF7 if that's what they're looking for. But that type of thing exists for a reason. And it's not like Amaranth didn't like scheme and, plot with other, nice looking ladies and be like, all right, here's how we're going to completely ruin the entire, Twitch community and everything. It didn't happen that way.
I mean, we wouldn't mind some retrosexual hot tub streams once in a while.
I'm working on it, man. It's just really hard because I don't know if I should knock out the entire floor in this office for a hot tub or just do like a standing one above ground. Right? Because like I'm thinking if I do the one that's already built in, it looks like I already got money. And so I think people would actually give more because of that. But, if I do the above ground one, it might be like, oh, well, he really needs an in-ground hot tub. So we'll sub to him and gift stuff so he can have that. I'm trying to figure out which one will just net the most.
Find out where the plumbing goes.
Yep, I still got to figure out where the septic tank is so they can remove all those trees. So I'll just put that as a part of that.
Here's a great idea. Once you get the hot tub outside, put the camera behind like a board, make sure there's like a splinter so it looks like somebody's peeping in on you. That will get you a shit ton of views.
Yeah.
Peeping Tom.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that voyeurism simulator. You're a genius. This will print money.
I think we made Gal and Nick faint.
Easy there, fellas.
Mm-hmm.
Stay focused. Stay pure. But yeah, like I just love stirring the pot whenever folks bring that kind of shit up. Just because it's like, yeah, you're mad at the completely wrong things.
Let me borrow Frank's credit card. No, if you want to borrow somebody's credit card, borrow Bajo's.
Yeah, right. Or whatever. This PayPal link, whatever he's got linked to his Twitch account. Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Frank gonna get mad saying I tried to flex on him. Bajo's the one to be flexing in there.
He got that jersey money. Shit.
Hell yeah.
He was doing Chris Christie's plumbing.
Ah, okay. Gotcha. That makes sense.
All right. Actually, I'll probably end stream after this. I mean, this was a lot longer than I thought, and I've enjoyed every second of it.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you having me on. This was great.
Okay. Anything else before we get off here?
I don't know what else I could tell him. We already went over the hot tub plans.
I mean, for what about winter time? I mean, does it get that cold down in Alabama? I mean,
No, I mean, well, I'm in Georgia, but I mean, it's the same. Yeah, well, it's literally the same latitude and same, like, it's the same air coming off the mountains, so it's the same climate. But it doesn't get too cold, sort of. The problem is the humidity, and because we are always have like humid air, anytime it drops to cold, it gets really bad. Like the real shit part about down here is black ice, because it can very easily get to the whatever it is whenever the water just instantly turns to ice because it just hit that point. That's really bad down here.
Georgia,
but as far as like being cold, you're not going to see a lot of snow. I'll tell you that.
Georgia and Alabama are basically the pubic hair area of Florida. Just right above the penis. Right there.
That's fine. As long as you describe Georgia as like that, Michael Jackson pressed or permed look going on.
It's got the Jerry curl going on.
Yeah. Probably got some Jerry curls in it, pressed, perm. Yes, sir. That does accurately describe his penis.
Got the soul glowing. And we are canceled.
Yeah, that's it. It's a good run, solid. I'm glad I was here for the downfall.
7 years, and it's been all fun. We got the emotes coming in. Shit. At least we enjoyed the talk. Yes.
Yeah. Nah, you could raid lift it and probably save it.
Yeah, actually, that actually sounds pretty good. So, at least emotes won't be on YouTube. Yes. All right. Well, thank you once again, Mr. Sexual. It was fun.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Go ahead and switch back over to the main view. So we'll go over just chatting and well, let me actually turn that off. How do I turn that off? All right, we got Lifted going.
Yeah, he's doing. I think he might be ending soon, but he's doing his 12-hour 3-year affiliate anniversary, and he is 11 and a half hours into that.
So we can either raid Lifted or make Frank drink. That's what they raid Lifted, because I'm sure
Frank's gonna drink whether we raid him or not. So.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure Daddy Bajo is making him drink plenty. So
not yet. Oh God. Oh, that ain't good. Oh, son of a bitch! Man, fuck you, Metroid. You know what's funny? I only died to Ridley when I did my 3-tank run, But you can definitely tell I wasn't that good whenever I was just doing my normal, like first playthrough to go get everything. Definitely a big difference whenever you start getting to those last, 25 and 50 pointers.
Actually, I think when I did the 3 tank run, I only died on Ridley. Like, let's just say.
Well, because like if you did the escape stuff, you have practiced Mother Brain enough, so just charge and jump and do your spinny jump through Fantoon. Crate's not hard. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Oh, and who else? The one under Dragoon or Dragon.
Yeah.
Dragon's not hard either because
Mm.
if you go in with full health and you just wait for it to pick you up, you can still kill it with the grappling hook to the electric thing.
What's the one on the ghost ship called?
Fantoon.
Yeah, that one, like, I seen Bud struggle on. I was just like, that fight is just so fucking easy. Like, how do you not know what to do?
Right, like that's the thing. The Fantoon fight is really awesome because you can literally just charge and jump through stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like jump through the little flame waves that he does. Makes it so much easier.
Mm-hmm. Well, I shall be back Monday. I'm going to be taking tomorrow off. No Resident Evil Dead, so. But once again, thank you, Mr. Sexual.
Yes, sir.
Until then, you guys have a solid night.